Hello, this is Max.
Hey, I'm Twiggy.
And this is Tech A. And today's episode 4, Cyber Attacks. Anyways, cyber attacks. What are cyber attacks? What can you do as an individual to do some data prevention, like loss prevention? And if communications ever decide to cease to exist, kind of like similarly to what happened, last month, like social media accounts were completely gone for almost the entire day.
A couple hours.
It was a couple hours, but depending on certain people, it was gone all day.
Yeah.
Messenger, Instagram, Facebook's down. Even before that, cell service was down. People couldn't get a hold of loved ones. Couldn't call your sister and tell her that you found a really cool recipe or whatever. So.
Yeah, they were blaming that on a solar flare, which made sense because an extremely strong solar flare did leave the sun, but the only problem with that is it totally missed the Earth.
Right. So what happened? And of course, now I went to the pharmacy a couple days ago for said infection. Why would you go to a pharmacy? But I overheard conversations of like, with the last cyber attack that we had, we have to be careful about X, Y, and Z. And all that kind of interesting stuff. So, like, really get your head to just try to wrap around the questions that should be asked of, like, was it a solar flare? Or were we considered under, like, a actual national cyber attack? And like, nobody's really wanting to talk about it.
So, I know for AT&T, they already claimed responsibility. They sent a bad update at the wrong time.
Right, okay. So cyber attack.
Yeah, sure, let's go with that.
Right. And so those are like the big cyber attacks. Now, like, what are some cyber attacks that you know of in your recently found expertise on like just personal cyber attacks?
I guess you could consider them cyber attacks, but a big one is ransomware. Where people are trying to get like Microsoft updates done or something like that. And our older clientele usually falls victim to this. And a message comes up on their screen, or they get a random phone call, and they're like, "Oh, I'm from Microsoft. I can fix all your problems for $2.99 a year." And therefore, they go in that, they give all their information, and they're pretty much giving away all their money via their credit card or. And then said hacker, a bad actor, decides to essentially lock up all their files unless they pay some sort of ransom. At a kind of a smaller level, it's not usually a ton of money, but it could be. And then, so talking about the pharmaceutical company is their most recent one for Change Healthcare, who owns United Healthcare and a couple other ones. They were a victim of a ransomware. And Black Cat Ransomware decided that they wanted 350 bitcoins. That doesn't necessarily sound like a lot to the average human, but with a bitcoin being worth between $60,000 and $70,000 right now, that was roughly about a $22 million ransom. So they could get their stuff unlocked. You may be asking how these hackers are getting into it. They're basically doing things like brute force attack of trying to get in their admins by just sending every password known alphabetically at it. Try to hack it in there. It could be a vulnerability that wasn't patched. I'd have to do some research on how exactly it happened. And then a lot of times. Attacks happen, they're called DDoS, or distributed denial of service. Think about if you are coming along on the highway or freeway in bigger places, and traffic just grinds to a halt.
Right.
So
it's happened on I-5 out in California all the time.
Yeah, it could be due to an accident or whatever, but think about it on the internet. There's just so much data being shoved to the server or service or whatever that nobody can get on. And the hackers do this on purpose to create a distraction, where then they can just kind of weasel their way in and do whatever.
Right. It basically it's like an overwhelming defenses to find the holes in the gate, in a sense. Speaking of Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price currently is $67,899 now. How long ago was this hack? It was like 2 months ago.
It was in February.
So that was, I follow Bitcoin pretty close, and so that was about 50 grand a coin, somewhere around there, 48,000. So, yeah.
I believe they just paid them off a couple of days ago.
Oh, really? Okay, so yeah, they definitely were in the high 50s, mid 50s, 55, 56.
Yeah, so roughly it was
Yep.
about $22 million.
Wow, and they actually paid him off.
They actually paid them off. So if you think about in the big scheme of thing, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, they're billion-dollar business because they're doing millions of dollars a day. Maybe not that much, but I'd say darn close.
What did they find?
And basically what's going on is their operations screeched to a halt. So they're losing that much money just because everything is locked up. So they're like, yeah, $22 million is a lot, but in the big scheme of things, we're going to have to do a lot more cleanup on our side. And if that data gets deleted, we're going to be screwed. So they're like, $22 million, here you go.
Right. Wow.
And then the funny thing, if we want to touch on that, Black Cat Ransomware, I believe they are out of Russia. They might be localized here, but they have affiliates that do the dirty work for them. And Black Cat decided not to pay those affiliates, so they essentially took the money and ran.
Oh, so like a good pirate.
Yeah, but they blamed it on the feds that all their funds got seized.
As they should. You know, like if you didn't have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, and you didn't have your appropriate security measures in place, you kind of deserve to get hacked.
Yeah.
And so, especially when you're dealing with other people's personal information. I'm just kind of curious of what they found while they were digging around. What do they use for ransom besides just bottlenecking the system? Which I'm probably, I could safely assume that probably was just enough as it was. But if they actually had something to ransom,
at first I thought it was all of their all the people's information. So like your names, addresses, email addresses, social security numbers, medical records, and things like that. Well, technically they did have them because they prevented Change Healthcare from accessing them.
And who's to say that they don't still have them? Because
Right.
you can make a backup.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty simple to take plain text and make a copy paste. And without any kind of encryption at all protecting the function of copy and paste, like, they've made a copy. I'm willing to bet anything on that. Yeah, so like that's kind of a national thing. Personal wise, a DDoS or what Twiggy already explained. There's phone and social hacks. You always get these weird messages from friends like, "Hey, I got locked out of my Facebook. Like I need your phone number to send a verification code." Like that should be a giant red flag. To anyone, especially if you haven't talked to said Facebook friend or in-person acquaintance, or you probably don't even know this person that well, and they're messaging you and asking you for your phone number, and you haven't talked in years. Like, it's pretty red flaggish.
Yeah, so funny thing with that is I got this random request from a friend I had back in college, and I thought I had a Facebook friend with him, but I think he deleted it after a time. And what I did is I've been not necessarily wary, but I would say like picky about like friend requests and trying to think of the word where I don't trust a lot of people anymore. Especially I don't trust a lot of messages.
Right.
So he sends me a friend request. So I Facebook messaged him and I was like, "Is this the real so-and-so or is this somebody being fake?" He's like, "Yeah, it's me." And he started talking about like stuff that only me and him would know. And I was like, I've had so many friends that have been hacked lately that I don't believe anybody anymore.
Right.
So that
Don't trust your Facebook friends.
right.
If you can't trust your real friends, definitely don't trust virtual friends. And that's but like how do you what are some ways that you could prevent just your account being hacked and used for malicious means? I've had an older lady here in our area call me and say, "Oh, I'm just calling your number back, what's going on?" And have never made a phone call. Like, I only call like maybe 2 people, and so it was kind of really weird to me that that somebody's using my phone number for possible malicious means.
So somebody's spoofing your number.
Somebody spoofed my number, and of course she recited my phone number back to me because I thought it was just like sometimes you get those weird 800 numbers and they just reroute to whatever number is in the area. And no, she recited my number, and then she asked if I'm even in the area that she's in. Like, is this a real person? And I'm like, no, I'm concerned that you're a real person or not.
Right.
But it turns out she's just an older lady that almost got spoofed. Luckily she didn't answer the phone. Otherwise she would be, she'll probably look at, like, eventually she'll find me at some point. Everybody knows everybody's phone number.
Right.
And she's going to be like, well, you tried to scam me. And I'm like, I have no idea who you are.
Right.
So, I guess I could start that topic on how to do data loss prevention is the main way is to keep everything on a cold storage.
So what do you mean by cold storage? Am I putting the storage in a refrigerator or what?
No. Though that could be one way that you could do it if you want to be literal about it. But cold storage would mean anything not online. So if you're online, your computer's hot. So your computer, your phone will be hot.
I mean, it gets warm, but I wouldn't say it's hot.
It's a live wire. It's a hot wire. It's going straight to the internet. Everything that you're putting on your computer right now, this very recording is being documented online, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
And so to have it on a, quote, cold storage, aka unplugged from any Wi-Fi connection, internet connection, anything like that, so you can go straight down to primitive, find a stone tablet outside and chisel it, all your passwords and all that, or you can go a little bit more contemporary with a pen and paper. And just keep it on pen and paper, lock it in a safe, or put it somewhere safe in your house that nobody can find it. Do not, I mean, we said this in our last episode for data breaches and stuff like that, is do not fill in the autofill. Right. Don't save anything on your computer. That is the main way to make sure that you yourself are not going to be used for malicious means. But it hacks and breaches and all that, they're all kind of one and the same on prevention, would you say?
Yeah, so you're talking about cold storage. When I was in my cybersecurity course, it was also called network segmentation.
Network segmentation. Okay.
So,
what is that?
Basically, you keep your, let's say, your maintenance servers away from your credit card servers, and keep your most important stuff in the highest area of lockdown. And some stuff, like you said, it just doesn't need to be on the internet until you need to upload or download some data. I know a lot of people who do backups of their computer and put them on a hard drive and put that hard drive into a safe.
Right.
Especially if it has like financial data. Another way I believe we talked about being safe online is through social media hacks. Anytime that there is a meme or post going out that asks like, what was your favorite car? Who was your favorite teacher? What your stripper name would be, because it's going to be your pet and your street address growing up. That is a form of phishing for information, because that's what we use for our security questions.
Right. Yeah, and so if they can get a hold of your security questions, and they're all kind of, if you're being serious about those kind of surveys, like, oh, I got tagged in a survey. Let's go back all the way back to 2001. Where were you in 2001? Like, those are common password creation tools that you don't even think about. You kind of just do it. Like, when's your birthday? You always put your birthday somewhere in your password, like, or when you got married or something like that. It's that's private information you don't really think about.
Yeah, so touching base on passwords a little bit. At different companies, they say that you should use not only passwords but passphrases. And anytime that you have like letters or numbers in there, you want to put in some special characters. Because I was reading something on the passwords. I'll let Max talk here for a bit while I find it. But I'm going to demonstrate how difficult it is to hack a password if it has certain details in it.
Oh, okay. That would be a cool little exercise. The other things that like a little bit more catastrophic events could be like an EMP event. Now, like an EMP means electronic magnetic pulse, and whenever I say that, people kind of their eyes like bug out because they think of like Modern Warfare 2, like there was a big nuclear explosion in the atmosphere over Washington D.C. and all electronics are down, and it's not just a bomb going off. There's other means for an EMP to be implemented. One of them is, and actually it's just a natural occurrence. You cannot prevent said thing, and that would be a solar flare, solar burst, or electronic magnetic storm, even lightning storms. If it hits in the right spot, it could fry an entire street worth of electronics. I've actually experienced that. Right after a really, really bad lightning storm when we were working at Best Buy. And
not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. Not sponsored. Well, we're affiliated, but not sponsored. And an older gentleman came in, and it was like the largest sell that I've had in my 1 year of time at Best Buy. And it was like close to like $12,000 in just new appliances, new computer. Like, he bought the works of everything, one of everything that we had in that store.
Is that because he had a power surge?
A lightning bolt struck his house. He had no grounding protection at all, and it fried everything.
So everything that was plugged into the wall or whatever.
Everything was plugged into the wall was gone, and that was pretty much everything that he had. And
so folks, that is the importance of having your house grounded and using surge protectors.
Right.
It could have been a lot worse if it would have struck just right. It could have caught the house on fire, and he could have lost everything.
Right. And so I believe it just struck a tree outside the house just right, and the current went to the fuse box, and so he had to get a whole new fuse box. Like, the entire electrical system in his house is just fried, gone. And so luckily insurance was taking care of that portion, and they gave him a portion to recoup some of his appliances that were plugged in and all that. Now, like, his stove was gas, but you couldn't set anything because
it's
still electronic.
Probably an electric igniter and everything.
Right. Yep. And so it's just the poor guy. And I felt bad until you mentioned that he had insurance, and then it kind of eased up a little bit, but it was just like, wow. You know, like, something as simple as just a freak lightning storm can ravage an entire city if it was bad enough.
Right. So, like, when we were talking about solar flares, if we had a giant solar flare hit the Earth, like they had the Carrington event back in, I think it was the 1800s, it knocked out the telegrams, basically worldwide. Imagine what that would do nowadays. It would put us back in the Stone Age.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we would be experiencing what Haiti's experiencing right now. Have you heard about what's going on in Haiti?
Not recently, no.
Well, they're eating each other.
Oh.
They're resorting. They're starving basically so bad that they're resorting to cannibalism. That's how bad it will get here if we lost all source of electronics. There'll be no trucks moving food. So, like, places here where we're at, we're pretty remote. If you think about it, there's only one
Yep.
food company that actually brings food to us from not even from our own state. It's from down south in the breadbasket, and no food's being delivered. Like, we have to become reliable. Luckily, we got a lot of wildlife. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't think we're gonna go Haiti level
Right.
of starvation, but it's gonna get really scary
Yeah,
for a
unfortunately,
lot of people.
Bambi's going to have to disappear for a little while.
Well, there's still rules of
Yeah.
hunting, natural rules. We don't need politicians to tell us the natural rules of hunting. You leave Bambi alone. You leave mom with Bambi alone because
Yeah.
you want the stag. You want them to grow up and be more plentiful. But I mean, little bunny Foo hopping through the forest is going to get slapped by
Yeah.
by birdshot. But I think where we're at, without disclosing where we're at, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
But big cities, man, if technology disappears overnight in big cities, those people are going to be hurting real bad. And so, what are some ways that we can kind of make it hurt less? There's these bags, or you can get like metal kits, and it basically protects the EMF transmission to the battery. So that's basically what happens with electronic magnetic pulses, is that it sends so much energy to that battery or transistor or whatever, it basically just fries it. It removes the electronic field around it. It does not produce electricity. Things that used to be magnetic will no longer be magnetic. It disrupts everything. So how do you protect that? You basically contain the magnetic field inside a metal container, aka aluminum. It's basically aluminum. And it prevents that disruption. So when you take it out during an event, that battery still works. How do you maintain communication? Well, then you probably go get a what they call a ham radio, because it uses radio towers, and radio towers, ironically, are not affected by an EMP.
It's because there's such a low frequency.
It's the frequency. And so get yourself a pair of radios during an emergency event. You can utilize those radios without any FCC licenses at all. You can get them pre-programmed. Now, there's a Michigan-based company that actually pre-programs for you.
Okay.
And I think it's like $40 for a pair.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all for a national radio service. So I would recommend, of course, not affiliated. I am not sponsored, but I would recommend you go out and get yourself a ham radio just for an emergency situation.
That's the same term as like amateur radio. So isn't there a test that you have to do to get certified for that?
So under the FCC, yes, there is. For the amateur radio license, you do have to take an exam, and once you pass that exam, it's good for 10 years. You get your own special little call sign. That's how they can track you. But under FCC law is that if you're under an emergency, there is no requirement for licensing.
Okay.
So
That's good to know.
So get yourself a radio, get yourself like 2 batteries that are chargeable by USB-C, get yourself some power banks, charge the power banks.
Right.
Put them in those the EMP proof bags or baskets or whatever it is that you find on the interwebs. You can make your own as well using metal trash cans.
Yep.
And just keep it safe for that not so rainy day.
Yeah, and also with these cyber attacks, they can definitely affect our infrastructure. So they can take out our water, they can take out our electricity. All that's another way you can prepare, especially we kind of live in a remote area, is you could definitely do solar on a small scale.
You could do solar on a small scale, but you still, for those solar panels, you still want to keep that protected inside your, I forget what they're actually called. I'll call them EMF bags or EMF kits. That's not the actual term. I'm just coming up with that idea right now. But there's an actual name for it. I'm sure if you Google it, it'll give you the correct name. But yeah, everything that has a battery, including those solar charger kits that like they have solar panels on them and they go to like a power bank that you would have for like a mobile power station.
Yeah, definitely.
Put that into the bag with your radio, its batteries. If you want to protect your car, they actually have like little kits that go over the car battery. So, or you could just get a secondary car battery and just put it into the kit.
Yeah.
But you still have to worry about your transmission and all that because that's all electronic.
Right.
Good luck going out and buying a brand new computer for your electronic car.
Yep.
That's stupid expensive. So older vehicles will be fine. Like,
yeah, if they're still
90s,
around.
like 2000s, if you could find one, they'll be okay.
Okay.
But if it's push to start, you're done. It's good as done. Don't even worry about it. Use it for scrap metal, whatever you need to use it for. But yeah, this is not to scare the crap out of you or anything by that. By the way, it's just more or less of recent events have made it necessary for this information to be said.
Yeah, it's kind of opened our eyes because it just shows how vulnerable we are.
Right.
Max and myself, we're not necessarily doomsday preppers, but our eyes have been opened that stuff can go down in a hurry, and we just need to be ready for it.
I wouldn't go say that I'm not a full blown prepper. I'm an
okay. So you don't have a bunker in the woods, or
no.
anything?
Okay. I don't have a bunker in the woods or anything like that. But I do see things and I say, how can I prevent any kind of pain or anguish to me and my family if this were to happen again? And so, yeah, do I have food for 3 months? No. Do I have a ham radio or even a general mobile radio, a GMRS radio? Yes, I do. I believe those are necessary. Do I have a means to hunt for my food? Yes. But that's just a necessity of where I live.
Right.
That's not because I'm scared that the world's going to end anytime soon. That's just a necessity for where I live. Is hunting is basically like a statewide holiday.
Yeah.
for us. So
yeah, up here they call opening season for deer hunting or rifle season Holy Week.
it is a holy week for us, and the churches get involved. Schools the schools actually used to shut down for that opening weekend for rifle season, and it was a big deal. Not so much anymore, but maybe they should bring it back. It was a community event.
Yeah, so I was kind of a townie. I never got into hunting. It never appealed me because the state I grew up in, it's illegal to bait. So I just saw hunting as people going out in the field and shooting stuff that moves, and that really never appealed to me.
Right.
I've been into fishing, but hunting has never been my cup of tea. I like to eat venison, but I'm not sure if I could actually shoot an animal. That may change as I get older, but I don't have any gun handling skills as of right now.
That's fair. I mean, my background being in the Marines, I've had plenty of firearm handling training. Safety training is, believe it or not, the Marine Corps is huge on firearm training for safety. Not necessarily how to use it, but how to use it safely. As that's kind of a contradiction to what the Marine Corps is used for in the means of war. But how do you safely use a firearm is paramount. Mm-hmm. Because if you can't use it safely, then you definitely can't use it for any other means.
Yeah, because you're going to be a danger to yourself and everybody around you.
Right. And so leave no man behind is a mantra that the Marines don't necessarily use. Mm-hmm. But we definitely use the look out for the man to the left and your right, because you're if one goes down, you're all in a whirl of crap. So
right.
So it's not necessarily like don't leave him behind, but like you're definitely in a whirl of crap. But that's a different topic for a different day. Kind of winding down. Yeah, what's up?
So as we wrap up, I just wanted to bring up that little graphic I had. for the time it takes for a hacker to brute force your password. This is as of 2023, but it's still similar. So anywhere from 1 to 11 characters, if you're only using numbers, that password can be hacked immediately. If you're using 12 characters, only number, 1 second, 13, 5 seconds, 14, 52 seconds, 15, 9 minutes, 16, 1 hour, 17, 14 hours,
Wow.
18, 6 days. So if you're only using numbers, you're going to get hacked pretty easily.
Yeah, because a day is actually pretty quick.
Right. If you're using lowercase letters, you can use anywhere from 4 to 8, and that can be instantly hacked. The only time when you can use lowercase letters is if you have 15 or more characters. So that will take any time between 27 years all the way up to 481,000 years if you're using 18 lowercase letters, if they don't have any prior knowledge of you. Uppercase and lowercase, you can use up to 6 characters and it will still be hacked instantly. Beyond that, it goes from 1 second. For 7 on up, if you use uppercase and lowercase letters, you'll have to use 18 characters for it to be basically unhackable, because it will take 126 billion years. Uppercase, lowercase, and numbers, once again, 6 characters, it will be hacked immediately. Beyond that, it gets better and better as you add more characters. So 18 characters, if you use numbers, uppercase, and lowercase letters, it would take 2 trillion years to hack that password. So as you see, as you're adding...
With no prior knowledge.
Right. As you're adding more to your password, it's more and more secure. And then you're like, okay, so I'm going to add numbers, uppercase, lowercase letters, and symbols. But I'm only going to use 6 characters. Nah, you're going to get hacked instantly. Once you use 7 characters, it goes to 4 seconds. Then you got 5 minutes as you add characters, 6 hours, 2 weeks. But if you do like, let's see, 12 characters, it will take them, what is that, 226 years to hack that password. If you use up to 18 characters, it will take 26 trillion years to hack that password.
Easy.
So,
with
yeah.
That's again with no prior knowledge. They're basically using like a random password generator,
essentially,
and it's just spitting out passwords, and they never duplicate a password. It just goes. Now, I dabbled in JavaScript, and I kind of made a password generator.
Okay.
And so I kind of know how this works a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's an if-then statement in there that says if it's already been used, like this sequence of letters and numbers and special characters have already been used, don't use it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it dumps it, so it'll never repeat a password, and then it'll just keep going until for infinity, and it'll just keep processing, and then you can tell it how many numbers or how many digits, how many characters are you using, and so you can say, all right, well, 6 characters, and it'll just start spitting out passwords, and you can see all the passwords that it's spitting out too.
Yeah, and then these brute force attacks, you're talking about that it's trying to password like once every millisecond.
Yo, it's fast.
It's almost instant. So this brute force attack, it's one of the number one ways that hackers try to get into systems, by just basically spamming a bunch of passwords, and they're like, oh, we're going to try this, and then the computer is like, hey, this is it, you're in.
Right. And so we're kind of coming up on time, but one way that companies kind of protect you, the consumer, on that is that if it doesn't have like a 3 and out kind of system, like 3 passwords tried, mm-hmm. and it's wrong,
yeah,
and
it
locks you out. If it doesn't have that, that is not a secure system, because that whole system was designed for this very program that I came up with. Well, I didn't come up with that, but I taught myself how to do.
Yeah, you taught yourself how to use it.
I taught myself how to use it and how it works and all that. And the only way to prevent that is to have that lockout system. Mm-hmm. So if it doesn't have a lockout system, it's free range, man. You're done.
Yeah.
eventually, with no prior knowledge, and that was the other part of the program, is that you can type in prompts for prior knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know the street address you grew up on, if you knew the birthday, if you knew even a couple numbers of the social security, not even the last four, just whatever it is, then it would curate the password generation to that specific set of information. And so that was mind-blowing to me. I was just a little freshy in computer science.
Yeah, that's kind of scary stuff. When I was doing this cybersecurity course, it kind of frightened me, but then it also had me take a step back and realize how crappy my passwords are. And I need to stop repeating them. So that was just kind of an eye-opening experience. Thank God that I haven't been hacked more than I have. But yeah, it definitely opened my eyes, and I think it'll open your guys' eyes on how to protect yourself better. Just be smart.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is.
Just use common sense. And this is not a call to arms to become preppers or anything like that on some of the more scarier topics of today. But it's definitely the recent events has declared that this is an important topic to discuss.
Yeah, so
at least to a minimum.
Yeah, I think we're going to continue with this in the next episode because I want to talk about some recent cyber attacks that basically affected the world, and I want to touch base on how some of these companies were just negligent and it ended up costing them billions of dollars and headaches for everybody. So I think I want to talk about that in our next podcast.
Well, right on. Let's we can get that going pretty soon. So this has been Max.
And this is Twiggy.
And this was Tech A. And we'll see you in the next one.